What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bang, coming to you live right here at Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another episode of Rubbing and Grubbing. Rubbing is racing, grubbing is tasting. Hey, man, hope everybody's having a good Wednesday night. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got a lot of good NASCAR news, COTA recap, previewing when we're getting ready to head into Richmond. Got a lot of stuff to go over, man. But we're going to start it out with the word of the day. So first time tuning in, basically what's going to happen is Lawrence is sometimes going to throw a word up here. Anytime I say that word during tonight's episode, you're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. I always like to say it's age appropriate as well. If you're under the age of 21, hey man, get some sweet tea, some Kool-Aid, energy drink, stay up late. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week, man. You got 2 more days at school. Enjoy. So last week's word of the day was road course, which heading into COTA, I'm sure I said that quite a few times, probably had a good little buzz. Might have passed out halfway through the show, depending on how many times I said it. I don't really know. But at the end of the day, this week's word of the day is going to be, I have no idea, but when I say it, take a sip of your favorite adult beverage, y'all. All right, so getting right into it, NASCAR news, man. Before on my way down, obviously that penalty for Mr. Hendrick over there at Hendrick Motorsports was appealed and got lifted. Not completely in all, but the points, the main important part, the points are back, all reinstated to those 4 teams. All 4 crew chiefs still suspended, and the monetary fine of $400,000 is still being paid. So at the end of the day, hey, it's a win-win, I guess, kind of, sort of. A guy that's got a good amount of money, made a living for himself, $400,000 to maybe have 4 guys in the championship for. Who knows, man? But at the end of the day, all those points come back, and hey, NASCAR took that money, man. I mean, that's all it came down to. So glad to see him appeal that. Hopefully, I would hope NASCAR put some kind of quality control department on the parts when they get manufactured and shipped out to the teams. I would think they already have some form instilled, but I hope as we go forward they do a little bit more strenuous look at all those parts, because who knows, if Hendrick cheated, they did, and if they didn't, NASCAR or whoever manufactured the parts kind of messed up a little bit. So at the end of the day, somebody's fault, but hey, we're back to square one. Can't wait for my boy Chase to come out here and win a few races, lock himself into this playoffs as well. Going to be an awesome, amazing season, man. Tyler Reddick brings home that first win for 23-11 of the 2023 season in that 45 car there at COTA. I tell you what, man, he drove the wheels off of it. I got to think of a good nickname for Tyler. I really hadn't came up with one yet. But, you know, we're coming up. And got to give him a big shout out as well. He also signed the Rubbing and Grubbing banner when we were up there in Atlanta. Corey LaJoy, quite a few other drivers did as well, man. So big kudos to him for doing that for us. That's awesome. We're going to take this back every year and see how many we can actually get on this thing before we have to buy a new one. But at the end of the day, man, Tyler Reddick victorious there in Austin. Trouble in Paradise at Trackhouse, man, I tell you what. That was pretty interesting. If you guys hadn't seen it yet, you obviously aren't a NASCAR fan, but you got to go check out the video of Daniel Suarez on the cool-down laps coming up to get to his teammate and more or less Alex Bowman as well. Suarez was a little hot-headed there, and I don't blame him. You know, I think he was restarting 4th or 5th on that final restart and got bumped out and finished pretty far back there for the track position that he did have. Worked himself into maybe potentially a win. Showed his displeasure, man. Rode up behind Chastain, bumped him one time before pit road. And the big thing we're waiting to see is if there's any penalty issued for what happened between him and Bowman on pit road. There again, NASCAR definitely implemented stricter safety issues on pit road and having contact on pit road this year. So we'll see. It's not anything for it to be delayed a little bit. I'm sure they're reviewing and talking to all parties involved, but I know Justin Marks said, hey, I'd rather have 2 guys upset over not winning than 2 guys that are just, you know, lackadaisical would finish second. So I don't know if that was really the issue. I think the issue was the aggressiveness, and we'll get a little bit more into that later on in the show. I've got some things to say about that as far as road course racing and aggressive restarts. But at the end of the day, man, it happened. Maybe a little trouble in paradise. I'm sure they all got it squared up now, but Daniel Suarez was not having none of that shit on Sunday. I promise you that, man. He was not playing around one damn bit for sure. $1 in that swear bucket, y'all. All right. Hey, man, Tony Stewart set to return to the booth for 3 more races this season, which I love. I think it's awesome having Smoke back up there. He's a good personality, definitely to have in the booth alongside Clint Boyer and Mike Joy. I think Larry McReynolds is actually coming in this week as well, so that'll be interesting. Great commentator there as far as the insights, ins and outs of the sport and the cars themselves. So Should be a pretty good broadcast up there out of the booth this Sunday. Really looking forward, like I said, to Tony getting back up there. Good to see him still involved in the sport and at that racetrack for sure, man. So if you haven't yet, please go out, like, share, follow all that social media for Rubbing and Grubbing, man. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. But most importantly, make sure you go out to that YouTube channel, follow us, subscribe, share it, man. Get your homies to subscribe. Like I always like to say, the more eyes we get on it, hopefully the more donations and everything we can bring in for our charitable events that we do here at Coaches and on Rubbing and Grubbing. So there again, if you haven't, like, share, follow all that social media. You see the helmet sitting up here. Like I told you, we're going to hit a certain amount of subscribers. I think Lawrence put it at 500, but at the end of the day, if we don't get to 500, this helmet's still going to go at some point in time this year. Hell, you never know with us, man. We might have a few cold beers up here one day for the show and just decide to give it away. But make sure, if you subscribe, you comment on one of those videos, hashtag forever. That's what we're doing. Retirement year for Kevin Harvick. Make sure you put that. That way we know you're in the running and subscribe. There again, the 270 plus subscribers we already have, you'll be in the running as well, man. But hey, like I said, hashtag forever. Go home with that autographed Harvick helmet, man. Bubba Wallace getting replaced. Oh man, here we go. Let me take a sip of this water before we get into this. All right. So this is one of the biggest woe with me moments I think I've ever seen in my life. Look, we're all grown men. He's definitely a grown man. He's been in the sport long enough to know. Made a couple rookie mistakes the past couple weeks. You saw it there at Atlanta, spun out, kind of ruined his day there. COTA came into the corner. I think he tried to take out about 4 drivers there. I don't know what happened. Missed the braking zone. Looked like he never even braked till it was too late. But look, at the end of the day, rookie mistake, he said it. He goes 2 weeks in a row. I need to be replaced. That's really not what I want to see from any form of driver at all, right? Like the woe with me, self-pity, there's really no room for that, man. You've got to learn from your mistakes, grow to be better. So I'm not for or against Bubba Wallace. It's not my favorite driver. I don't dislike him the way a lot of folks out there do. I think he's a good talent. I think he's definitely got good equipment. The one thing that I see that Bubba lacks is the mental toughness there inside the car and after and during the race, right? He's got to become a little bit more mentally tough. He's got to be more consistent. When you're running 2311 equipment and you saw what Kurt Busch did in the 45 and you even saw what Bubba was able to do there later on in that season, now with the addition of Tyler Reddick, I feel like that team with Kurt Busch in the background kind of still there helping these guys, you know, propel 2311 to another height. I think he's just got to get tougher, man. You got to be tough. Look, you made some mistakes, man. It's going to happen, and I'm sure they had that pep talk. I'm sure Jordan and Denny Hamlin both got on the phone or after the race, sat down and talked to him. You got a lot of sponsorship dollars there, man. Columbia, McDonald's. I mean, those are a lot of big money sponsors with 2311. So at the end of the day, even though you didn't have a good race, you still have to be that positive mind state. You still got to understand and go, okay, yeah, I messed up. I'm going to learn. I'm coming back this following week to be better. So, I'm not going to down him for what he said, but at the end of the day, I think it's just kind of immature, and I think it's a little bit woe with me. So, hey, man, either strap the belts on tighter, get your head right, get your head in the game, and play the game to the best of your ability. Or if you want to be replaced, man, I'm sure there's a lot of young talent sitting down there in there's lower 2 series that would love to drive that 23 for 2311. So we'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, I hope Bubba picks himself up. Really needs to get some consistency rolling for sure inside that 2311 23 car team for sure. So, in other news, man, hey, Chicago, that let's see, not All-Star race, 4th of July weekend, I guess, July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, whenever that race is up there, Chicago Street Course race. Another big partnership announced. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with it. I think as we get closer to it, NASCAR is going to start releasing venues that are going on at that racetrack, partnerships that have joined in to fund that race there in Chicago. McDonald's was a couple weeks ago. They announced, hey, McDonald's is, you know, pretty much a partnership. They're one of the founding sponsors of that race as well. This week, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois joined in, man. I think they're downtown, one of their corporate buildings. The race actually almost runs right in front of their downtown building. So they hopped in. And there again, this is something that I'm not really going to touch base on this week. I'm saving it for a hard right turn probably next week. But we are going to talk about venues in NASCAR and what they are starting to become compared to the product being put on the racetrack, all right? And I think the writing's on the wall there when we start going to different markets like LA, and now we're in Chicago on the street at a street course. I'm not going to jock it until I see it, but I can tell you if COTA or any of the other road courses or anything like what we're getting ready to see in Chicago mayhem is going to break loose, man. I mean, there's no way you can put these heavy cars and do what they do and not expect the calamity you see on restarts at these races. So, like I said, we'll touch base on that more later on. But big news there, big deal for NASCAR at that inaugural race. I mean, I think it's going to be a cool deal, another piece of NASCAR history. And McDonald's and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois are first two on board. So, like I said, as we get closer, I think you're going to start seeing more things that'll be released during that race weekend, or I think it's a few days, really, a week long. I don't know how long it is, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a really neat little deal. And as we get closer, more and more names and things are going to start popping up for sure. I'll keep you posted on that. So getting into my favorite part of the show, man, the Checkered Flag for charity. If you guys are new to tuning in, like I say, we basically take either a local charity or organization or an individual and raise money for them. And we've done it since the show started. I mean, that was kind of one of the basis that we got involved when we started Rubbing and Grubbing, was to help out locally in our local area. So at the end of the day, this year, we're running it now for Jamie Searhouse Monroe. If you guys don't know, I've spoke about it a lot, lost her husband and her mother within 10 days of each other. Just a lot going on, changing life. So we're helping with financial responsibilities, house payments and, missed work and different things that she's having to do on top of still continuing to take care of her family. So look, as of so far, man, with that 45 winning the Tyler Reddick, that's a pretty good one there, man. $45 goes in that bucket. That brings the yearly total through six races now to $1,045, man. So that's not too bad. But like I always like to say, none of this is possible without the patrons of Coach's Corner and the staff and everybody involved here. These concerts that you guys come out to here in the Sound Garden, the tribute bands and the local bands, those Cooler Full of Joys that we put on, the different raffles that we do out throughout the music season. That's where we make it. On top of our sponsorship dollars with the businesses out there that buy into us at the beginning of the year and really just are down for the cause. So at the end of the day, I always like to say it doesn't matter, nickels, pennies, dimes, 10, 20s, 150s, whatever it is you got to give anytime you're at Coach's, we'll take it, man. Like I say, if you come up to get a bite to eat, you want to donate in, stop your waitress, your waiter, bartender, manager, John or Dale Henderson, you see them walking around, hey, man, tell them I want to donate into that Checkered Flag for charity. They'll make sure it goes to us and goes to the right place. This weekend, there will be another Cooler Full of Joy raffled off at this concert coming up. So who's playing? I'll keep you posted on that in just a little bit. So before we get into my second favorite part of the show, got to give a big shout out to one of my main sponsors out there, Mr. Parker Eccles over there at Arbor Man Tree Service. Hey, like I like to say all the time, locally owned, locally operated, insured, no job too big, too small. Make sure you give Parker a call, man. Doesn't matter what it is. If you're unsure of what you need and just need an estimate, Parker would be more than happy to come out, take a look at it, and give you the rundown on that. Hey, full tree removal, stump grinding, cutting back some limbs, whatever it may be, Arbor Man's your tree company. You're going to see that number scrolling on the screen all show long. Make sure, again, if you got any kind of tree service needs, give Parker Eccles a call over there at Arbor Man Tree Service. Parker, love you, brother. Thank you for everything you do for Rubbing and Grubbing, man. So getting into who's hot. Well, I hate to say it, but there's a new #1 contender, and it didn't last long. But the Watermelon Man jumps back up to #1, and I tell you what, just been the consistency all weekend. On the verge of a couple wins there. Looked like he had a chance at a couple different races. COTA was no different. Ran up front for a majority of the day, went to the back, came back up front. Thought he might have a shot late. Didn't work out that way. But right now, when we're talking consistency and speed week in and week out, the one team over at Trackhouse is definitely showing they got it. So I'd be on the lookout. I said I gave him a lower grade than last year. He is yet to win, which I think is a big deal. I still think he's not going to make round of 8. I think he'll be knocked out in the round of 12 this year. I honestly do. I think the competition's gotten a little steeper. I think there's still a lot of guys out there that owe him a little bit of payback in their eyes. And now with the teammate upset, I mean, we might see a Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain 3.0. I mean, I know that isn't over. And Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain might be that new one. Hey, man, I think rivalries as teammates would be something for real to talk about. So we'll see what happens there. But as I said, the one car right now, #1 on that hot list. Got to give a big shout out to the man, the myth, with the flow himself. Mr. Corey LaJoie joins the hot list, baby. And I tell you what, almost back-to-back top 10s. Had a top 5 there in Atlanta, finished 4th. Driver of the 7 this week, man, is on fire. I tell you what, got himself inside the top 20 in points. I think he's 15th in points right now, man. So that's something to be very, very proud of, especially being a smaller, underfunded team. Finished 11th there at COTA. That's just a good, solid day with all the mayhem that happens on those road courses. So Corey LaJoie, man, is on the verge of winning a race. I tell you what, if we come down to a race that's got a little bit of track position play, maybe at another restrictor plate, you might see Corey LaJoie, super restrictor plate, super speedway race, you might see Corey LaJoie walk away with a win in the 2023 season, man. I'm not going to doubt it. I think this team continues to get better and better, especially from last year to this year. So the sky's the limit for them, but I always like to give those small teams that are running good a shout out, and this team here definitely deserves it, man. So Corey, good job, brother. Thank you for signing the Rubbing and Grubbing banner, man. Greatly appreciate that as well. And hey, man, like Lawrence told you, man, make sure you bring that flow back, bro. William Big Hat Byron will round out the last person on that hot list. And I know a lot of folks are going, well, this and that. But look, back-to-back wins on the season. Another really good finish there at COTA. I mean, outside of Tyler Reddick, I think nobody really had anything all day long outside of that 24 car. He looked to be fast. I still think Reddick was the class of the field, not only from starting on the pole and winning, but just the speed he showed throughout that race. Those late restarts can be tricky. I was thinking maybe a little bit of carnage there, get caught up in something not of his doing. Might cost him that race, but I tell you what, once he pulled out of turn one, he was gone, brother, on that last one. So, you know, hey, like I say, William Byron, man, doing his thing this season. Now we got those points back. I think he finds himself 5th in the regular season standings, or maybe the playoff standings, maybe 1st in the playoff standings. I don't know. He's in the top 5. I know that. I think Alex Bowman took over the lead on the regular season. But I tell you what, that Hendrick camp, even though Chase isn't there, they're still running it, man. They're still in really good shape. And anybody that is doubting Chase Elliott coming back into this race car and winning races, evidently you hadn't been watching the sport for about the last 5 years. The dude is going to win some races. I'm still taking it for over 5 wins, okay? And that's a lot, but I'm still taking the man for over 5 wins when he gets back in that car. Chase, I hope you watching, man. Hope you tune in to Rubbing and Grubbing, brother. Hey, be a bulldog. Come back and go ahead, man, and get that second title for yourself, man. Not back-to-back like they did, but get that second one. Bring it home to Georgia, baby. So getting into that who's not. Well, if you heard my comments earlier, we should all know who number 1 on the not list is, and that's Bubba Wallace. And again, I don't think it's basically for the whole season of what he's been doing on the racetrack. I think, yeah, those past couple weeks, COTA and Atlanta were definitely rookie mistakes. But there again, I already talked about it. The horrible finishes, the inconsistency, problems on pit road, and then the attitude, the mental aspect of it. Got to get it tightened up, bro. You got a lot of kids looking up to you. You got one of the kid-friendly sponsors that are left in the sport now that M&M's is gone, McDonald's. I mean, what kids don't get Happy Meals, man? So you got to be strong for the kids out there, man. If you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the children. And at the end of the day, I think you got enough talent, man, to put it together. So get your head right, rebound right, get yourself off this not list, man. I look for you to have a good run at Richmond. I know it's not one of your best racetracks out there, but hey, man, anything is possible. Go out there, conquer the day, bring it back home, man. Second on the not list, and this is just my personal opinion, and I know y'all probably might get mad at me. There's a lot of people out there probably going to get mad at me. Road course racing is number 2 on the list, man.
Come on, man.
It is just not my forte. I don't enjoy it. If you ask me about COTA, I think that it is not designed for a 3,000-plus pound car to go around. It's just my aspect of it. Is it entertaining for some folks out there? Yeah, for me, myself, it's not. I would much rather you see go laps, circles, left, all the time on a mile and a half, and it'd be spaced out and boring. I would much rather see that than a road course. That's just me. Because I think road courses are breeding into being the new super speedway. We're going to sit and wait because we know there's going to be a caution late, or when there's a restart, it's going to be mayhem. Now, I will give it the credit. I think NASCAR did a really good job there with the no stage cautions. I think that brings back in that fuel mileage of what we see at road courses, what we're accustomed to seeing. It brings a lot of different players, when you pit, how you pit, what fuel strategy you're on, tires, all that comes into play when you do that. Now, I think moving forward, NASCAR should really take a look into this. And I think even Denny talked about it a little bit on his podcast. I hadn't watched this week's episode, but especially road courses. I don't mind it so much on ovals, but road courses, and really I don't know how good it would do, but if we got inside 5 laps, if it's a green, white, checkered single file restarts, man. I mean, at least that way you get a little bit of space. You don't have a guy that's going to drive in, especially at COTA, a zero turn. The first turn happens to be a zero turn, man, a stop and go turn. Everybody's going to pile in there. It doesn't matter if you're 10th or if you're second. If you got a chance to body slam somebody, you're going to. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I don't know if single file restarts will eliminate it, because you're still going to have the guy that gets the jump, restarting 10th, dives to the inside, and tries to pass 5, 6 cars going into that turn. So I don't know what the answer or solution is, but for me, I think, like I said for years, past 3, 4 years on the show, 4 road courses is max for me. I think that we should do Sonoma, Watkins Glen, 2 other ones, and if you want to rotate 2 of them out every 2 years or 3 years, kind of like a, playing here, playing the Super Bowl at this stadium, I'm down with that. But I think 4 years max. I mean, I don't know what we're up to this year. I know at one point we were at 6 or 7 there. Pandemic, I think last year we had 6 or 7. What do we got? Indy left, Sonoma left, Watkins Glen left. I don't even know what else we got. Yeah, we got the Roval left. To me, it's just still too many. 4 max, space them out. And that's just my opinion on it. Love to hear what you guys think. Comment on the show. I'm sure I'm going to catch some grief about it, because I know the next-gen fans, as I like to call them, absolutely love road course racing, which to me, NASCAR is just not built for road courses. That's just not what we do. There's no input steering. They're not light cars. There's not lateral grip in the car. That's just me. So anyways, at the end of the day, they make the not list. So before we get into the next segment, man, we're going to pause for station identification right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday night. Hope everybody's being safe. Cheers, y'all. All right. So getting into that COTA recap. Tyler Reddick, as I said it, man, comes home victorious. First win of the season for that 2311 race team in that 45 car. I mean, he had them smoked. I mean, had the car to beat. The strategy played out right. Got the newest tires there. Was coming back up through the field. Wham, bam. Got lead. Caution. I thought there for a minute Kyle Busch might do a Kyle Busch move and, bump him out of the way and put him out of contention. He did not, which I guess I got to speak volumes on the maturity of Kyle Busch there. But I would have thought no better storyline than the 8 cars stealing a win away from the guy that he basically replaced from last year, moving on from RCR to 2311. But at the end of the day, it's a good storyline for 2311 and the 45 going, I beat the guy who replaced me in an RCR car last year. So big kudos to him. Like I said, I think the young talent, I think what you're seeing out of Tyler Reddick, he's coming into fruition. I think this season will be good. The next 2 after this one should be some of his better seasons, getting into that prime in the series. Had enough years to get it figured out, got good equipment. There again, I think he's one of the most young, talented drivers out there. I think we don't rate him high enough when we compare to younger guys that are out there. Tyler Reddick is definitely one of the best talents NASCAR's had in a while. So it's going to be interesting to watch him grow and see the limits that'll be for him over there at 2311. And hey, got a win under the belt. They can go trophy hunting right now. So we'll see how many more they get before the season's over for sure. A lot of ringers look decent, man, at the road course race, but usually we don't talk about that too often, man. Usually they're a little bit further back in the pack. Had some guys that looked really good. I know Button in 15, I think he was the best finishing guy out of them. Jordan Taylor in the 9 looked really good and strong there for a while. Kimi Rackington was up there just based off those different strategies, and I think had the cautions played out a little different and the pit strategy been a little different on those teams. Who knows, man? They might have been up there contending for a top 10. So I really thought it was neat to listen to the contact aspect of what they talked about. I don't remember which one it was. I don't remember if it was Jordan Taylor or if it was Jenson Button. But he said, I made more contact today than I made in my whole career racing Formula One, Indy, ISMA, because there again, contact's frowned upon in those series. But and just saying how worn out they were. They said halfway through the race, a couple of them were like, man, this is really grueling. Just the back and forth, the shifting, the left and right, the weight of the cars, how the cars transfer through the corners, carrying that speed. It'll wear you out. These are probably some of the most enduring races that NASCAR has to do outside of those 600 miles and 500-mile races at certain places. So at the end of the day, I think it's really neat to have these guys. I think there again, it adds a different set of eyes to the sport. Those guys that are normally watching Formula One or IndyCar or GT or whatever it may be, maybe they'll tune in just because some of their former champions and guys that are really good in those sports come over and run some Cup Series. So never going to turn a fan away, but I'm glad to look at them and go, hey man, this isn't as easy as getting behind one of those open wheels and driving. So that's pretty neat, and there's definitely some videos on it out there, so make sure you search it and see some of those comments, because a lot of those guys' comments were entertaining after the race for sure. So there again, a lot of new faces up towards the front, man. I tell you, this is one of those weeks. I always like road courses, and I always like restrictor play, or I keep calling them restrictor play today, super speedway races. They both give the opportunity to the underdog, right? They both give it for smaller funded teams and guys that don't maybe have the mechanical stuff that other teams do, to put that driver talent showcase up there. And you saw it this week. Hey, Ty Gibbs, Ty Gilliland, Chris Buescher, you had Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Cindric, which I know Austin Cindric's a really good road course racer. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from him at all. But all inside the top 10, and Corey LaJoie finishing 11th. So there again, a lot of those guys and big names that we're used to seeing finish inside that top 10 didn't quite make it up there this week. So really good to see some new faces up there, getting a good finish, maybe getting a little bit of momentum rolling in their camp and their team, a little bit of, feel good as they go into the shop this past Monday, getting set up to head into Richmond. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good morale bump, especially if you haven't had any good runs this year. So at the end of the day, really neat to see some of those young, talented guys that are underfunded coming back up to the top. So as I mentioned earlier, 99 upset with a teammate and Alex Bowman, man. And look, Daniel Suarez kind of has every right to be, but at the end of the day, it's just the nature of the beast. We've seen this all last season long. I mean, Chase Elliott lost Indy road course last year due to the same exact thing. Restart, getting bumped out through those S-turns right there. Just got wiped out. I mean, it is what it is. Reddick beat him there at COTA last year, I think, or maybe it was another one that he beat him at last year. Road America, maybe. But at the end of the day, it's just the nature of the beast. I don't think anything's going to change. I think when guys are aggressive and everything that goes along with the next-gen car, this is the nature of the beast. So until NASCAR figures out a way to penalize teams or to get drivers to not do this and self-govern themselves, which I don't think will ever happen, at the end of the day, it is what it is. So I wonder what that conversation was, team meeting was on Monday after that race with Trackhouse. And I wonder if we're going to have any, rolling over effects here coming into Richmond. We know we're going to a short track, a little bump and run, a little move you out the way, a little knock you out and see you later type stuff. But we'll see what happens, but should be damn interesting for sure. So all in all, if you ask me my opinion on COTA, wasn't one of my favorite races. I mean, there again, I told you I'm not a huge road course fan. It's not my forte. It's not really something I enjoy. I don't think it's very good for the sport. But there again, the no stage cautions definitely brought me back to how I grew up watching road course racing and Cup Series and racing in general. I don't mind it. A mile and a half super speedways, anything like that, I really don't mind it. It did take away quite a bit of strategy from any racetrack you run at. I will say that. Maybe we're moving into the next era of the playoffs to where we don't throw stage cautions anymore. We just award points at those laps. So we'll see if NASCAR continues to carry this forward, and maybe next year we see it at every racetrack or more racetracks outside of road courses. But going to be interested to see what they do with it. But like I said, I would much rather see them turn left all day than right and left back and forth to come down to a bunch of wrecks at the end. That's just me. So getting into that Richmond preview, man, I tell you what, this is an awesome racetrack, very historic there at NASCAR, for NASCAR. It is the first real short track test we get to see the new aero package on. Actually, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get to see it twice. So Bristol Dirt, you're not really going to see much of it there, obviously, but turning right around after that, we go to Martinsville, and that's really going to be the true test. Martinsville was that race last year where a lot of teams realized we got an issue with this package there in New Hampshire. It's just like, we got an issue. Martinsville especially, we're used to seeing their side-by-side runs, guys battling back and forth, bumping, moving, and last year we didn't see a lot of that. So hopefully we tighten the field up. Hopefully we get some good short track racing in this week at Richmond. Going back 3/4 mile, true D shape. I think it's 14 degrees in the turn. Just an awesome race to see. So we know the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Action Detrimental, or Mr. Denny Hamlin there, came home with the win last year. We'll see if he can repeat it, man. So just make sure if you're looking for something to watch on Sunday, NASCAR fan, tune in 3:30 on Fox. see if that 11 car can bring home another trophy for sure. There, I think it's one of his home tracks, man. I know he's Virginia native, Richmond, and we'll say Martinsville. 2 home tracks, and the 11 does pretty damn good at both of them. So we'll see what he does, man. But getting into that top 5, I just said it. Number 1 driver for me is going to be Denny Hamlin. It's hard to bet against the 11 at Richmond or at Martinsville, if you ask me. I don't care what year it is, what car we're driving. More than likely, now that Gordon and Jimmy Johnson both retired, I will definitely be taking him again in a couple weeks at Martinsville, so we can go ahead and chalk that up. But I think the 11 has been quietly decent this season. He hasn't been up front contending for wins left and right like we've seen in years past. But there again, I think he's been consistently decent. So I think coming into a track that he's very familiar with, knows how to set the car up, knows what he needs out of the car. And there again, I think the longer run is where you really see the 11 manage the tires well and do what he does and come on, really strong in the long run there late. So I'll take the 11 number 1. 2 for me, got to be Willie Big Hat Byron. I'm telling you, William Byron, man, finished top 5 there last season in the spring, had a really good run, off to a hot start in 2023, a couple wins already. Another top 5, top 6 finish here this last week at COTA. I'm telling you, I think that team's really got it together. I know the crew chief suspension's hurting a little bit. Rudy Fugle is an awesome voice for him up there. There's so much success through the truck series on up, and to get him back is going to pay dividends. But I expect the 24 to run really good and strong there at Richmond anyway, so we'll see what Willie B can do for sure. 3 for me, Kyle Larson, man, 5 car. About time for him to get off this bandwagon and get him a checkered flag, man. I tell you what, had it going on there last year, ran pretty decent, another top 5 finish. Didn't exactly contend for that win, but at the end of the day, can't ever count Kyle Larson out, and I think that he is definitely going to have a really good run when we get back up there to Richmond this weekend. So 5 will be 3. 4 for me, Christopher Bell. Maybe didn't have the exact run that we expected him to have at COTA. I expect him to run a little bit better. I know he got caught up there in a couple accidents later on, especially towards the end of the restarts. But at the end of the day, man, I think Christopher Bell is leading that Toyota camp over there right now. I think that young, talented driver is due for a win. We saw him get a win last year at New Hampshire. I think he can do it again at Richmond. I'll take that 20-car 4. 5 for me, another guy I think that is back on that bandwagon after a really good finish and run there at COTA. You've got to look out for Kyle Busch in that 8 car. Kyle Busch in that 8 car is on a mission this year. I think the fire's lit underneath him, especially after the comments he made after that truck race with Zane Smith of just being on that wrong strategy and kind of, going on the long run and not really having the best long run. Same thing he was talking about Sunday. At the end of the day, I think he's got it figured out. Richmond is a place we know he's got some history there, the infamous move of him moving Dale Jr. out of the way. But at the end of the day, talented guy, won there before. I think he can get it done again in that 8 team. So we'll see what he does this weekend there at Richmond. Get into some dark horses, and some of them aren't going to be that dark. Brad Keselowski, there again, had some success at Richmond in the past. I think the 6 car is on a path to at least contend for some wins this year. They've shown really good speed. COTA broke a drive shaft or something there, had a couple accidents. Spun out a couple times, is what it is. That kind of stuff happens. But I expect him to rebound and at least have a good top 10, top 5 run here going into Richmond. Who knows? He might get that win for that first win for Roush Fenway Keselowski. After Chris Buescher last year, might get that first one of 2023 this year. So we'll see what the 6 does. We'll see if he can bring it home, but I'll take him dark horse. Another one for me, I think a guy that we count out way too often, the 19 of Martin Truex. There again, hadn't had exactly a dominating year, but I think he's got potential. I think they've got speed in that camp in the 19. They just haven't exactly performed the races the way they need to. So I think track position is everything. Qualifying good will be something. And if he can maintain that throughout the race, he might have a shot there towards the end to win one. Now this guy, definitely going to contend, all right? And that's Kevin Harvick. It's not much of a dark horse. I think they even might have him as one of the top 5 favorites, which how, I don't know, but they might. Harvick is really good at Richmond. Really decent driver. This is the guy that can go out and win there anytime we go. Now, like I said, the radio communication this past weekend between him and Rodney Childers is something that I haven't heard in quite some time between those two. If you haven't heard that yet, there's definitely some things I cannot repeat on this show. I don't have enough ones up here tonight to repeat that, but most simply put, Childers came on the radio, I think, trying to give him a little bit of advice and pointers, and Happy pretty much told him to shut it, as nicely as I can put that. So if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. They've been together long enough as a team and a duo. I'm sure they got that all worked out. I'm sure that was mid-race antics and, you know, just being hot and heated. But at the end of the day, man, like I said, look out for that 4-car to have a good run there at Richmond for sure. So getting on into that next segment of the show, the money line. And before we do, man, we got to talk about who sponsors that. Money line presented by Redfin Polarized Sunglasses, man. Whether you got money on the line or a wall hanger, make sure you see it clearly with the best polarized sunglasses on the planet. Matter of fact, I'm going to put Lauren LB's on. I forgot mine. Hey, I'm telling you, made for the woods, made for the lake, made for the water, man. Hey, made to even dress up, man, if you're getting ready to go to prom or something, man. Got a date night, man. These bad boys are looking slick, son. So make sure no matter, like I said, woods, water, or recreation, you live life fins up with Redfin. Hey, when you go to checkout, man, on their website, use code RubbinandGrubbin15, save 15% at checkout, man. Also do want to give a big shout out. Got to welcome some new folks to the Redfin family there. Couple buddies down here from Savannah, Georgia, Mr. Robert Kissabeth. I seen you guys stop by and picked out a nice pair, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he got the Hatteras or not, but those are the ones I got, man. There's some good-looking sunglasses, some of my favorite. Like I say, Italian frames, Carl Zeiss lenses, polarized lenses, the best sunglasses on the planet. Again, as always with Redfin, live life fins up, y'all. So getting into it there, man, I tell you what, road courses and super speedways, as I tell you all the time, are very difficult for me to pick. They're just oddballs. We never know who's going to win. We know who's good at them. If Chase Elliott would have been behind the wheel of the 9, I would have put him first all day. Nothing else matters to me, right? But he wasn't. So last week was really hard. To be honest, me and Lawrence took another step back, okay, on the money line, man. I think we're sitting at 525 units to the positive on the year. We did hit with A.J. Allmendinger. We bet $25 to win $31.50. So we won $6.50. We lost quite a bit there. We went pretty heavy this weekend. I tell you what, I'm glad we're going back to Richmond because it's much more predictable. I can at least pick some guys I think are going to be up there. One of them is going to contend for a win for sure. As I said, number one on that list will definitely be the 11. Looking at the 8, both those guys will be top tier along with that 24 and the 5 probably, right? Those guys are all going to run good. A little bit further back, you got to look at a guy like Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney. All those guys there are going to have a little bit better odds. Getting a little further back, Martin Truex Jr. odds looking pretty good. That 6 of Keselowski. And I tell you, the darkest horse that I'm probably going to take will be Ryan Preece for a top 3. We're definitely going to work that in. But like I say, man, you can see what we go with and lock in every single Sunday. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. LB Lawrence throws up there every single Sunday morning what we lock in for that race, our money line bets. And you can participate, man. Might get a little piece of advice. Hey, man, might go something different. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you right now, we're killing it. We already locked some in. Lawrence already got it on. We got the early odds in. We've already locked in a couple guys for the win. I tell you what, I'm glad that what we use to do this and where we're at finally started putting up these early odds because the odds only get worse as we go into the weekend with qualifying and everything else, practice and where you start. So at the end of the day, I'm glad we're able to lock some in early. I do like to look at practice, obviously. Those lap times mean a lot. So we'll see what we end up with, but we already locked some in. You can check that out. And like I said, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Lawrence will throw those bad boys up every Sunday morning. And, hey, man, throw your lineup on there. Now, let me know who you're rolling with. Let me know if I missed somebody or slept on somebody. Interact with us, man. Comment. We'd love it. So getting into it, but before we do with the hard right turn, I got to give a big shout out to another one of my main sponsors, Mr. Lamar over there at Lamar's Body Shop. Hey, man, 35 years of taking care of Savannah's auto collision needs. Like I tell you, if you need an insurance estimate, paint job, make sure you go see Lamar, man. 2301 Skidaway Road, hop, skip, and a jump away from coaches. You can drop the car, catch an Uber, somebody bring you here, eat some lunch, go back, pick the car up. I tell you, man, I've seen a lot of work come out of that shop, and it is pristine. Lamar does the best auto body collision work around town. So as I always like to say, man, don't settle for par. Go see Lamar, 2301 Skidaway Road, man. So getting into this hard right turn, and it resorts back to what I mentioned earlier about road course racing and aggression. All right, with a car that is already a little bit hard to drive, it's a little bit difficult to pass in this car. We're seeing guys become more and more aggressive on road courses, right? Back in the day, I mentioned a little bit something similar to this last week about the etiquette, right? Garage etiquette and, just racer code, right? Like what you accept and what you don't on and off the track. And we've just lost it. I think a combination of the youth that we see in the sport, the drivability of the cars, and just the type of road courses that we're racing on. The late restarts in any restart is going to be hectic. There's going to be a lot of beating and banging. That is where you are going to gain a majority of your track position unless you absolutely have a really good car. So I really don't know what the answer is. Like I said earlier, I think maybe single file restarts inside 5 laps might go somewhere, might do a little good. Then again, it might not. I don't know. I don't ever want to see NASCAR become a penalty for making contact. I never want to see that. I do not want to see, 3 seconds off your time or you lose 2 spots, or I don't ever want to see that. That just makes it too complicated. But I tell you what, Jeff Burton had some of the best comments that I have seen in a long time about the lack of respect that Cup Series drivers get on road courses. And you're seeing these Formula One guys and IndyCar guys and GT guys come over and drive these heavy stock cars with no lateral grip, no front bite to pull and excel off of the corners, and the contact, the beating and banging, and just the physicality of it all, right? Jeff Burton had a really good thing. If you hadn't YouTube it, look it up. He hit it on the head, man. No truer words have been spoken. NASCAR doesn't get the respect on road courses it deserves. But to be honest, as I've said, they're not meant to race on a road course. That's just my opinion. There again, getting back to it, 4 road courses max a year for me. I don't care if we rotate them. I think Watkins Glen should remain on that schedule. It's one of the last surviving older road courses that we have. It really needs to survive. I think Sonoma is a staple too. You can rotate the other 2, whether it's Charlotte Roval, which I'm not a fan of in the playoffs. I've said it. You can down me for that if you want. I'm not a fan of it in the playoffs. I think there's a lot of better tracks that we could replace for that race and move that race somewhere else on the schedule. But like I said, I don't care if you want to rotate it between Daytona's Roval, Charlotte's Roval, Circuit City of America, Road America, Indy road course race. I mean, why aren't we racing the Brickyard? There again, that's just my opinion. Why aren't we racing the True Oval in the Brickyard at the Brickyard 400? We waited so long to get to that race and have that race until '94, and now we just don't race there. I think these are things NASCAR really needs to take a look at. I know we're attracting new eyes and new fans, and the younger fans, the next-gen fans, as I call them, absolutely love road course racing. I do not. I'm not a fan of it. I've been watching since '92 at 4 years old. I'm 37. That's just my opinion. I'm not down with it. I'm a true NASCAR fan. I don't care. I'm going to watch it every week. I didn't miss a lap of this one. I'm going to watch it every single week. I just don't care for it. There again, I think it's really sad that we come down to green, white checkers. It takes 45 minutes to an hour to get through the final race. Everybody that worked all day through their pit selection, pit strategy, tire strategies, and having really good race cars, 5 of those guys get wiped out towards the end due to guys that just bail off in there and want the track position, trying to think they're going to go from 14th to 1st. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that if we're talking about entertainment, which Ross Chastain had a very entertaining comment about it, he hit us with the Maximus off of Gladiator. Are you not entertained? Okay. If we are talking entertainment being the aspect of carnage towards the end of races, I think we really need to take a step back and look at who are and who aren't true fans of NASCAR. I would much rather see a clean race run and the guy that led most of it win the race. Are there times that I pray for a caution? You know it. When Chase Elliott's in second and he's got a good car and the laps are winding down, do I want a caution to come out? Yeah, you're right. It gives my boy a shot. Natural cautions, not NASCAR-thrown cautions, not phantom cautions, natural cautions. So on the road course, it's a little bit different. I don't know, there again, talking entertainment-wise, if you enjoy watching guys bail in there and wreck 5 or 6 other guys just to try to get to the front, then I don't think you're actually a real true fan of NASCAR. I think you might just enjoy that one race you go to a year. There again, if we're talking entertainment like WWE, then that's what we're talking at road course restarts, if you ask me my personal opinion on it. I think that it's just the entertainment aspect to have people talking in the headlines Monday or on sports radio or wherever it may be is talking about the calamity that happened at the end of the race. That's, to me, not what NASCAR was founded on. That's not what NASCAR is, and that's not what NASCAR true fans are really about. So there again, if it's your forte and that's what you love and you enjoy it and you want to see it every week, more power to you, man. I just really hope that you don't comment and you don't complain about races actually being spread out and guys actually racing to win, not, driving in and dive bombing everybody. So there again, would love to hear your comments on it. But until something changes in NASCAR, man, you might as well. It's like Blockbuster used to say, please be kind, rewind. That's what's getting ready to happen, because every time we go to a road course, you can go ahead and rewind it and press repeat, because we're getting ready to wreck every single time there's a late caution or a restart. Mark my words. So that's going to wrap it up for the rubbing part. We are moving on to the grubbing, and we went with this last week. Was it last week we went with this last week, but it wasn't the right combo. So this is Reed Special, okay? This is Mr. Reed Bennett Special here. This is a buffalo chicken ranch quesadilla. Texas Pete and butter, bacon, chicken, cheese. Man, I'm telling you, this thing looks delicious. I've never got down on it like this, but I'm going to. I'm definitely going to have a bite of this tonight. You can guarantee that. But you come out to Coach's, ask for that Reed Bennett quesadilla. They're going to know what you're talking about. Got another little special treat here. I have no idea where this bad boy came from. What we got here, Lawrence? Woo! Boy, and let me tell you, this cheesecake is looking mighty sexy up here, boy. Little caramel drizzle, boy. We got a little chocolate on that bad boy. Graham cracker crust as always, baby. Yeah, this is some good eats, man. So like I tell you guys all the time, if you haven't been here yet, you are missing out on some of the finest at Coach's Corner. From the food to the staff to the drinks to the fun to the entertainment, there is no better place than to go than Coach's Corner right here at Thunderbolt, Georgia. I'm telling you right now, man. There it is. There's the man, the myth, the legend himself, baby. Mr. John Henderson in the house. So as always, Carl DeMasi Sports Report right here live every Saturday in the Sound Garden, 9 until. Coach is getting into that baseball, man. I'm telling you, opening day, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's opening day, baby. Braves, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 1:05, man. Braves, man. There's no better place. If you guys know Braves, you know it's John Henderson's Coach's Corner, because let me tell you, nobody does Braves baseball like Coach's for sure. But, man, Coach Carl keeping you up to date on everything, bass fishing, lacrosse, soccer, golf, bowling. I don't even know what baseball, what other prep sports they got going around the area high school-wise, but whatever it is they're doing, Coach DeMasi got the update on it, as well as that baseball, man. I'm telling you, keeping you updated. So, like I said, live right here, Sound Garden, every single Saturday, 9 until, man. So make sure you tune in. Go check out Coach Carl's page as well. Subscribe to that. Like it. Follow him on Twitter. Get on that social media, man. Help spread the word. The man is just a legend around town for not only coaching, but just the hospitality and the charitable stuff that he does as well. Puts himself out there. He sits at the door here, sells raffle tickets, does a lot of things for coaches, does a lot of things for the high schools, does a lot of things for the students, man. I can promise you that. So, Coach, love you, brother. Got to catch up soon. Maybe drop me a line. If not on the Saturday, man. We started getting on Who's on First Base with Kyle Lawson. Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play. Hey, man. So got to give another big shout out there coming up. Let's see, what's that? Next week, Lawrence? Next week, 19th hole? Next week, man, 19th hole. This is the premier golf show in the universe. I promise you, in the world right here. Sean and Brent Herb getting ready to come up here and give you guys the business about some golf out there at the Masters. These two brothers, and if you got a brother or a sister, you know how you argue with them. They do this for 4 days straight, man. 5 days, 5 days straight. I'm going to be making a special guest appearance on there next Wednesday. Probably pop in, give a few of my picks there. Hadn't been keeping up with it too much, a little bit. I'm going to go home here this next week and do some research over the past 4 or 5 years at the Masters. See who's in, see who's out, weather conditions. I'm going to take into a lot of accountability this time before I just come up here and start making some guesses. But can't wait to see it. Like I said, make sure you tune in. That'll be live filmed right here at Henderson's Cabin, the 19th hole, one of the wild, craziest shows. There's no telling what they're going to talk about, what they're going to get into, or what they're going to do. But Atlanta, man, will be giving some picks out. I don't know who all else they got as guests, but those boys are wild. So make sure you tune into that. Got that coming up next week. Don't forget, starting Wednesday, right? Wednesday, Lawrence. So next week, Rubbing and Grubbing will be an all-new time for next week. That'll be on a Tuesday. You guys can tune in live. If not, Lawrence will have it thrown up on YouTube in a lickety-split. But at the end of the day, I got to do it on Tuesday, man. I got to get the stage up to these guys, the man, the myth, the legends themselves, the Herb brothers, man. So love you guys, man. Ain't seen y'all in a while. Love you guys. So that's going to wrap it up there, man. Got to give another big shout out before I get out of here to Mr. John and Adele Henderson. Thank you guys again, as always, for opening the doors. All the patrons at Coach's Corner for donating into their charitable events. Everybody here at Coaches, from the staff to every single person that works these events, all the way down to Lawrence, Julius, Reed Bennett. I tell you what, without these guys, Rubbing and Grubbing wouldn't be what it is. We wouldn't continue to grow this platform. We wouldn't continue to raise more money for these charitable events and families that really need our help. So there again, thanks to everybody out there. I always like to give a little speech there at the end of the show. So this week, like I'm going to talk about, man, hey, look, we just had another big shooting happen there at Tennessee in that private school, man. The world out here, we're just getting crazier and crazier, man. We got to stop with all this hate. We need way more love. The crazy thing about it is it was a female this time, a female shooter, which is, you know, it's not unheard of, but, man, we're so used to seeing males do this kind of stuff. And look, man, it's a sad place in America when we can't even send our kids to school and feel protected. And teachers are somebody that help grow our kids into the human beings they become. I mean, let's be honest, teachers there for a long time have a lot more time with our kids than we do. You're a working mom, you're a working dad, you drop your kids off at school, you don't get home till 5, 6 o'clock, you do homework, you shower, watch a little TV together, and bam, you got the weekends maybe, right? But at the end of the day, man, we got to take care of each other out here. The stuff that is going on is just, it's not American, man. We got to get mental capacity, mental health, got to be at a forefront issue. We got to get down to these issues, man. We got to figure out ways to regulate this and protect our kids at all costs, man, because this is the future of our country. And I'm telling you right now, when you can't send them to school, when you can't go to the hospital, when you can't go to a movie theater, when you can't just be a family and be an American and enjoy what you enjoy doing without the threat of being shot or being robbed or being killed or these things, America is going down the drain, man. So we got to get this fixed. I hope everybody out there is having a great day. I hope you're, spending time with those loved ones. As I always like to say, make sure you give them a hug, give them a kiss. Tomorrow is not given. But hey, y'all, till next Tuesday, make sure you tune in Tuesday. Till next Tuesday, love all y'all. Stay safe. As always, wash your hands, y'all. Boom. Love you guys out there.